Okay, just kind of a short talk about the stringers. I just glued them in place and it's still wet, so we're just finished doing that. The I talk about in the manual and in the forum about how the measurements don't seem to be quite right in one case. To start with, before I even get into those, the way I do it is you've got a stringer here and there's a metal post coming out right here. So this end of this stringer is absolutely going to be on that metal post and the same on the other end. This one has a metal post here, so you know it's going to here. This one does not end up on a metal post up front because it goes all the way up here where we don't have a door like we do on the other side. Then it comes to behind the fuel selector. On the other side, it actually stops over there and has a post. So in any case, what I'm getting at is just put the stringers on either end. You may have to trim a little bit. I only had to trim one. I think it was this one, the second one down. I think I had to trim it back. It was a little too long. But for the most part, they're usually pretty good. I do get a Dremel sander with a little round drum on it. Those are perfect to go up inside of it and sand the inside down. And you can even do the outside a little bit if you need to, just to make it, and then to make it where it's straight across here, I take a metal ruler and I put it across here to here, just like the fabric will be. Make sure I've got a straight line so I don't see a hump or a bulge right here when your fabric comes across here and continues going. So it's just an aesthetic thing. I'll go back later with body filler and I'll fill these little gaps right here where the fabric's going to hit, because you will see where it goes in that little indenture there. So later you'll want to fill those in. But right now, the biggest thing is to make sure there's not a hump where they're sticking out. So you can take that straight edge and put it across here, right across the front face of this, all the way across to there. Then I just eyeball it, okay? And I've got clamps, I'll just kind of clamp them to here to have them handy. Then I'll just go down, I'll get down here and I'll eyeball it and I'll look and see how straight it is. If it looks like it's going up here, I'll come up here and I'll move this down a little bit and put a clamp on the tab. And then I'll go back and look at it and then I'll come back and put a clamp on this tab and I'll put a clamp on this tab. I'll put enough clamps on it so that when I can look down the edge, all it is aesthetics. It just, does it look pretty? Does it look nice and straight? If it does, then that's good. Just make it move up or down. So this is your starting point. That's your end point on this one. And on the other side, you've got two of them that are the bottom two. The bottom and the middle one are the same thing. They've got starting and end points. So you don't need measurements. You just need to do it. Disregard any measurements. They show measurements from here up to here to where these should be. That's just, I think this is the one that says 10 3/8. There's no way that'll work. If you put 10 3/8, it'll be way up here. This is about 9 1/4, 9 1/2, I think, right here from the bottom. It doesn't matter. Forget those measurements. You want to put the end in there. And I did come up here and see where this should end, which it should be on this tube right here. And then I just look and make it straight. Now, one thing, especially on this stringer here, this big long one that's coming down through here, later the fuel lines are going to drop down through these slots, but is that it makes some weird bends. It kind of cocks one way and bends this way and turns that way. So you kind of get it straight down this way, then it'll turn and come up this way. Remember, it's just looks. Later, when you're looking down the side of your airplane and you've got your fabric on it, you don't want it to be going up and down or whatever sticking out. So just make it look pretty. You see how nice and straight these lines are. So just like the manual says, is some places are not going to go flush. You can't make this tab flush and this tab flush. You see the difference here? You see how far it's sticking out? And I've just gone back and filled it with enough of the meth. That's fine. You know, get it to where it looks the best, whichever tab. Like for me, the top tabs, work on these two. The rest of them are all nice and flat. So you get the rest of them, they're all flat, but you got two here. If I were to push this down, you see how far it is out too. If I were to push this in, it would torque this whole thing around and these would pop off all down through here. So you're not gonna get them to all sit flat. So make all the majority of them nice and flat, and you'll see a couple that stick up, that's fine. Just fill it up with some additional glue and make it work. Once I do that and I look and I see they're all nice and straight, I got enough clamps on there, then what I do is, you can see I go through and I make little marks with, in this case, with a silver Sharpie. I actually do two. I do a little rounded mark, around, I just kind of trace the edge of this tab on both sides. And then I'll draw, sometime every so often, I'll draw a line up through here, so that kind of shows me where this tab went this way, okay? See there how we did that too. So once you've got those marked on all of them, then trim them, sand them, make sure they fit nice. On this one right here with the fuse, where this is gonna be at, let me grab a tape. Later in the build, we're gonna come back and we're gonna make these fit right. And basically what's gonna happen, we're gonna end up bending these in to where they're flush with that. And we'll have to do it and tie it back over here out of the way. I use zip ties to the rods over here to the brake pedal. But right now, don't worry about it. This is not gonna meet flush with this later. It's gonna have to be pushed and bent in, but we'll wait till all the glue dries later. Also on the end of this one, you can see this is gonna go over the tube. You can see obviously, to meet back on the fabric spacer, it's gonna have to go in quite a bit too. So you see we're gonna push this in later. We're gonna push this in later like that, and we're gonna fill it full of meth glue around there, and we're gonna tie it down, hold it down where it's gonna be a nice transition into the fabric spacer, okay? So once I've got them all marked, and where it looks nice and straight, then I just move the clamps over a little bit and get them out of the way, but if they're still right there handy, and then I take it, and then of course you take a red or burgundy Scotch Guard, and we scuff between these marks that you've made. So you've made marks, and so you just scuff and rough up, get the gloss off of all the places between your marks, all the way around, then use alcohol again and clean it up. And then what I do is I then take the stringers, turn them upside down on the floor, and I don't do like the manual says. I never put masking tape on anything. There's only one place here that you have to use masking tape because you just can't get a clamp to hold. It seems to be this one right here. Because if you put a clamp on this side like I did over there, it fit okay, but on this one, it sticks out so far that the clamp won't go down and grab the tube, so there's no way to effectively pull that down, so I just put a little masking tape and pulled it to that one over there. But I hate masking tape. I just use these clamps all the way down. I don't put them up there and then pull it back and put some glue in there and then shove it back in there like the manual says. That doesn't work very good. Just simply take these, lay them on the ground with the tabs, the parts you're gonna glue facing up. Then I just take the meth gun and I run down through there and I put a glob of glue. You can tell the direction of the tab, you know about how far they are. You can see these tabs are at an angle. So I just put a good glob of glue in here, a big glob of glue right there in the center. And see how nice and neat it comes out that way? I got plenty of glue, see, in there where it's touching. That's plenty to hold it. And then I just take them and I pick it up and gently put them into place, just find any spot there and go ahead and put your clamps on them. And then I just work my way down and go to the ends and get the clamps on, and then just come back and make sure if I can touch it and it's up close enough, like this one doesn't even have a clamp on it because the force from the other clamps are holding it tight enough against here where it doesn't move when I put my finger on it. So it's good enough. And the ones where I need to, ever so often I put a clamp anyway, and sometimes you need one on both sides. If I can touch it, move it just a little bit, I'll just go ahead and put a clamp on it. But I don't, if I can move it enough where it's torquing this around, I don't mess with it. I just leave it where it is and clamp one side. So you see how these are done. Then after I've got them all glued up and put in place, I'll go back, and if any's squished out like that, I'll just take my finger and just kind of smooth it out just where it kind of looks good. You can push it back in there and keep a paper towel. In this case, I don't have my extended baggage finished here, as you can see, so it's not glued up yet because I'm missing the door frame, so I can't go any further on it. So that's pretty much, I think, it with the stringers. It's mostly a looks thing. It isn't that difficult. See here. Again, the measurements, I did use the measurements on this part. I forget what they were, 14 and something with the here, and it'll give you a measurement here, which will show you about where it should be to the center, from the bottom edge of the tube up to here, whatever it was, maybe 14 and a half or something. I'd have to look at the manual, and then come back up here to what the manual tells you here. Of because you do have to have starting points for these two right here. And then you'll kind of see then how these tabs, you'll have to have it right or these tabs won't hit these correctly. But anyway, yeah, so get your measurements here and get your starting points here. Then get you a clamp and tape it in, and then same thing back here. I believe the back measurements here worked pretty good too. I think all the measurements worked pretty much, except this one back here, this 10 and 3/8 will not work. About 9 1/4, 9 1/2, something like that is what works. But who cares? Just put the front and the back end, and then look down and make it look pretty. That's all it is. This just holds the fabric out, and that's it. So aesthetics is kind of the main thing to do with this. And I can't think of anything else, so hope that helps.